hello people, and welcome to Thessia. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It is so exciting to be back in a new modded build, and Thessia is our tropical chain of Australasia inspired islands that lies about 10 hours west of Ilos peaks, sandy beaches, blue water, and indeed an active volcano all make up this incredible landscape that has been crafted by Eggsy and Karina. An enormous shout out to those two for yet another custom map for the channel. Really appreciate you both. You mean so much to me. Thank you for all the support. And Thessia means so much to me, right? Ilos is gone now. We are ready to start our new city, and I've got some interesting ideas for this one. And this is going to come in the fact that we have a train only start. So I'm using these orange lines here to help dictate exactly where I think I want the train lines to flow, maybe down into the bay in the south to have some kind of major industrial centre at some point. And then the train lines are really going to wrap around this central mountain mass, and what I want to have happen is for lots of little communities, separate towns to sprout up off of this train line, but I don't really know what sits here yet. All these question marks, I need you guys to fill in, you know, what other communities are going to sprout up. Is there going to be a forestry town, or perhaps a town that's more based around farming, or whatever it can be? You guys will help me decide. We'll also develop our highway network ourselves. There are no 3-lane highways in Thessia. There is only a very small national road represented by the grey line, so we'll definitely expand our road infrastructure as and when needed, but otherwise we will be relying on the outside connections to help bring people to the city. But there's a lot of ideas, and I need your ideas as well, so please let me know what you want to see in Thessia as it grows. There's a lot of ideas to be had here, I think. And of course, I mentioned this map is a train only start, which might not make the most sense because how did the train station get there without a road? But it's City Skylines, it's going to be very fun. We won't be tapping into the national road network for a few episodes in this series, and we will be relying solely on the trains to get people in. Eggsy and Karina have done a wonderful job of building this little train hub here, but I've got some trees and bushes and a new cargo station off of the workshop that I want to include within this station, so we'll time-lapse some of that up, and then we can get started with actually building the first town in Thessia. And after these changes to the car park, we're now left with a much nicer, appealing space that looks a little bit more modded and also making use of some of our custom assets. Of course, some new planters on the scene, brand new tree palette as well, and of course some classic parking lot roads, and some wonderful new fencing which I'm super happy with. We kind of got this broken down nasty chain link fencing that's all like overgrown and snapped and ripped in certain places. Super cool. And again, asset links are down below if you want to come and play with anything that we're using today. You will find it in the asset collection. But I'm really happy with our train station now. We can actually begin to start building the city. So let's start Thessia, shall we? I can't stop staring at my train line here. This is already the best bit of Thessia, everyone, right? It's all downhill from here now. How nice is this fence before we get started? Really nice. Super cool. Nice little overgrown fence to help border our rail. Anyway, it's enormous and it's time to get started. So we're definitely going to do an industries episode at some point, probably the next one. But for right now, we need to actually get some services and amenities in for the Sims before we start building the main town, which is going to expand out here, and we'll talk over some of our ideas for that in a second. So I think I'm also going to add a large water tower as part of my decoration into the train station. In my 81 tile configuration, I am using enable water, sewage and heating transmission without pipes, of course, if you're wondering why I'm not putting any pipes down in this series. Cool. And then I think for power, we're actually going to go with wind farms for the first little bit of it, at least anyway. And there's a nice little spot here, and I think we can just get a dirt road. Again, we'll make more of a facility out of this when we come to actually build these areas, but for right now, a little bit of wind power up on the hill here, overlooking the starting town, which I think I'm actually going to name this particular suburb today around the train station Valkyrie, after the Valkyrie Sentinels that are trained on Thessia from the Mass Effect games. Of course, if you don't know, all our cities are named after something from Mass Effect, so now we have Valkyrie as the starting town over here, right? And how great is it? So cool. I'm trying not to let the game play because we need to we need to see some money left. So now we've got those in, I'm pretty happy with that. The water tower is actually a great addition into the station sort of facility, isn't it? Really nice with all these props over here again too. And then for our sewage, I think we're just gonna bring this one over here. Hopefully you will fit in, will you? Again, we're going to find a more permanent home for these when we come to build our sewage plant, but for right now, we can just sort of tether it onto the back end of our cargo station, and that will give us all the services we need for the city to start functioning. Of course, we can bring some sliders down if need be. We're not going to use all this stuff straight away, so let's bring water and a little bit of power down as well. Cool, so the inspiration that we're working with today is actually a town in Australia called Cootamundra. A big shout out to Brad and Bad Wolf for suggesting areas to me in Oz for inspiration for Thessia. And this kind of has a classic grid, but it's going to be a really nice start. We've got some Australian football pitches here, and there's a creek that flows through the town. There's a little rail yard with an industrial sector to the north. There's quarries around here, there's farms, and it's kind of a perfect start for Cities Skylines. So that's why we're going to be running with Cootamundra in Australia as our main inspiration for the town of Valkyrie, which will of course continue to grow. And as will the other towns as well around the island. Really exciting, isn't it? I can't wait to see everyone's ideas for what should get on with it. But either way, let's start going. So we've got a little bit of 4-lane road here, so we definitely want to, of course, maintain some sort of road hierarchy. So let's also upgrade this as well. And then this can continue alongside the rail and eventually, I imagine, hook in with some national road activity over here. I do realise it doesn't really make sense to have this much infrastructure without like a highway connection. Like, how did they get here in the first place? I totally realise that. But it's okay, right? We're doing this for the fun of a train station only start, which should be quite nice. Cool, so with the train station, it's kind of sitting perfectly centrally within this view, and this kind of comes down towards the riverfront. So what I'm thinking we will have happen is actually to have kind of a central mall or sort of park strip that runs through the suburb and then down into Main Street and then into more suburb and eventually hitting the river. For some sort of riverfront build down there eventually. So let's see what we're playing with here. Let's go for 30 units and then we'll do 20 and then we'll have this up and then we'll start respecting this as our park space. And then in terms of the housing, it's kind of really simple. We're just going to be doing 20 by 10 blocks, and that's going to give us that same relatively densely packed suburbia that we're seeing in Kuta. So that's what we're going to run with right here. Let's get some of these laid out. So now we approach an alignment where our 10 by 20 arrangement isn't going to play fair with us. But it will, because Node Controller will say it will. So Node Controller is a tremendously fun mod. I had a lot of fun with it in ILOS, and hopefully be a little bit more refined this time. So I'm actually going to draw this connection in, right, which breaks my residential grid frames here as to what I want the city to grow out like. I'm going to hit Control and N, which is a nice little handy shortcut for Node Controller. Then we want to grab this node here. So I want to identify the node color that my road is bent off on. This, in this case, happens to be the blue node. And then I just want to shift this node across, and we also want to offset our red friend a little bit as well, so we have that room. And that's going to shift it across till we're pretty much straight, and I'm happy with that. And then we can hit this square icon in the top. There's also a mod to hide the pedestrian crossings here as well if you like, but I think I'll probably keep them. So that we can now maintain that grid structure and just widen out this node, make it a little bit more important. And there's a few little sort of instances of fun node control that we'll do throughout Valkyrie today as the city grows out. So let's throw on a couple more of these residential grids along the bottom here now, and then I'm going to turn my attention toward this little central park space that we can have quite a bit of fun with. So thank you to Bad Peanut, because what a wonderful timed pack this was to have Australian football fields delivered directly into the game without me needing to take up workshop space, which is absolutely fantastic. So I kind of want this here as well. Again, we can see a couple of Aussie footy fields around the town of Kuta as well. And I really just want to have pretty simple, rudimentary park spaces here. Nothing overly designed. Kuta is a really kind of quiet town. It's not majorly. We are going to do some nice things with IMT there as well today. There's a lot of ideas. It's a brand new series, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the theme and the look of Thessia as well, everyone. It's very different from what we were experiencing in ILOS. Cool, so yeah, I just want this little pathway here, and then just some... I kind of don't really want them to be pathways, you know. I'd rather this be kind of like well-trodden path as opposed to an actual pathway that the council might have put in. But that makes a little more sense anyway. So just some nice little walkability here to get things started. And then if we come into our park stuff, I have an asset off the workshop, which is really handy. So it's a toilet and an equipment storage shed. An incredibly simple asset, but my goodness gracious me, does it make a big difference to a park. So it's got some storage sheds on it and toilets as well, you can see. We've actually got our first Thunderbox here, haven't we? Didn't realise we were playing with a Thunderbox, mate. But anyway, we'll save the Aussie accent for occasional for occasional appearances, and apologies if it is absolutely horrendous. I have been practicing it in the run up to Thessia. And I think matching sort of the trees around the Aussie football field here will do us a pretty good job. Okay, maybe get the occasional gum in there as well. We're going to be a huge lover of some of these gum trees. But you know, nothing overly engineered is the vibe that I'm trying to come off with here today. I just love this asset. This is the best one. This is fantastic. What a great little park addition that is, right? Absolutely wonderful. So now we'll just kind of have this central mall developed, right? We've got our Aussie football pitch in there, and we're looking down this sort of central strip mall now down into town. That's just great. It's just absolutely great. So this is coming along pretty nicely now, right? We're starting to experience some nice road frames here. I want to start developing a main street soon. But what I do want to happen first is to just go ahead and get some of this population in to get the city started. So we're playing with this really great pack here. I'll quickly throw the Steam Workshop up. It's a expansion from Avania onto the European suburbia stuff. It's called Redecorated. There's a whole bunch of really nice houses in here. It's using the European suburbia stuff, but they are just so nice. They have many more props in them, a few more trees. They just look a lot more natural in terms of their housing. So I'm going to plop a bunch of these in. You can also zone them as well if you want to do European suburbia, but I have a theme made for them, so I will zone some of these up. We can get some population in and hopefully see the first Sims arrive into Thessia. So here is the moment of truth, everyone. A train has arrived in Thessia and cargo has also arrived in Thessia. And here's the new residents. Please, please. Look at them spilling out. Notice the out-of-home advertising, everyone. We left this here for you. There's also bins and benches available. Oh, look at that. They're using the pathway to come off. I didn't think that would work. Oh, that's so good. Oh, yes, please. Yes, please, everyone. Look at that. Yes, please park if you wish. Parking is available. Spill of people. All the first Thessians. Good day, guys. Welcome to Thessia. I'm sorry, I will stop the Aussie accent. I won't do that every episode, I promise. Oh, this is great though, isn't it? Look at this. Table and chairs here if anyone would like to take a sit down after your long journey. I'm sure you're all parched. Look at this, everyone. How exciting, right? Pure happy egg smiles right now. There is. There's nothing as satisfying as a new build in City Skylines, is there? There you go, kid out here, tying his shoes. The thugs of Thessia up to no good. There we go, there's another train as well. Goodness gracious. Lots of people. So there you go, guys. Actually, a pathway hooked into the side of this content creator station. They will actually use it. Again, more wonderful modded capabilities. I'm pretty sure that'll work in vanilla as well, though, actually. Wonderful. There's also someone playing footy as well. It's a girl and a cat playing football for the first game. Is that cat got one eye? Oh no, there you go. It's just in the shadow. There we go. All right. Happenings in Thessia, of course. So we've got a massive industrial demand right now, okay, and also some land value issues, but that's expected. We could actually probably deal with fixing that, couldn't we? Let's get some parks down. So we'll go for some quintessential Old Faithful. Does this actually function as a park? Yeah, the church does. I definitely want to do something with the church, so we might come back to that and revisit that idea. And then how about around the sort of main Valkyrie park here? We have some tennis courts. Let's go for here. So we'll place 2 of these. Again, the wonderful world of Bob is going to be great for just getting rid of the horrible vanilla trees. And very similar to what we did in Ilos very often, is just to piece these things together to make these more cohesive areas in our suburbia, rather than just having it as endless grid, which, you know, Ilos proved can be acceptable and can work. But we want to try to do a little bit of something different here. So let's give them a little car park. If they're going to park up next to this little sports facility here, we'll give them some 16 meter poorly maintained. That looks like it's going to be good to me. Get a couple of disabled spots in there as well, and then we can have some parking up here as well. Cool. I don't want too much concrete around here. We definitely will when we get into the city, and we're going to be taking a lot of inspiration from a lot of different places in Australasia for this build, mainly Australia, but we'll certainly jump to New Zealand. Some of the more sort of tropical islands to the north as well. We're going to be doing quite a lot of fun things today. And let's get some of our new trees. We've also got some really new fun Australian bush. Look at this. How exciting is that? Really cool. So let's get some little cluster bushes out the front of our tennis courts here. Okay, so we can just use that to increase land value. Of course, the whinging of land value because they've been plopped, that will eventually go away. But I think I'm happy with the little suburban tennis park in there just to help improve that land value situation. And speaking of land value, they will also want schools as well as whatnot. We'll come to cover schools in a second. But we will also add in the second of the emergency services in the form of the historical fire station. And I think, you know, you're going to work kind of cutely just in the park there, aren't you? Just as a little lone building. Don't think we're going to hate that, you know. You're going to be happy with it. I love that you can see the trains coming and going there as well. So all our cargo is coming out of here. If you're wondering how the train only start works, this is it. So of course you can just use the map as Eggsy and Karina have designed it. But I just wanted something a little bit more detailed and with our tree palette in. So I hope that's alright. I'm really enjoying it already. It's always so nervous everyone starting a new city, especially when you turn it into episodes, but it's yeah, Thessia feels right, you know. It feels like it's going to be a good city. I'm enjoying it. Cool. So while the Thessians continue to mooch around, I would also like to give them a creek. Again, returning to our inspiration in Cootamundra. And we can see that there's just a tiny little creek that flows through the town. So I was originally thinking of cutting the river sort of through this landmass, but that doesn't really make sense in terms of a creek. So what I would like to do, although ignoring the fact that there's train infrastructure out here with no other roads connecting to build it, not sure how this town exactly would have been started without a main road connection at least first, but we'll ignore that fact. But what I would like to do is to add a little tiny water source up in the hills here, and then start to come down and just have this creek flow through town. I think it's going to be quite fun. So let's dig out the ditch first. Again, it's going to be really shallow, not like a major river network or anything like that. So let's just sort of meander this through the town and see what we think. And then we'll also need to upgrade this bridge here as well into an elevated section, so the water can indeed come under. So we'll detail this eventually, of course. You know, we'll have a water source out here, a little spring up in the foothills of Valkyrie. Will be really nice. But for right now, we'll just want to get the water source in. Not two, thank you very much. There we go. Let's not flood the entire map in our first episode. Yeah, I'm pretty much there, is what I'm after. You gonna be alright? You okay? The colour of that water is so blue. Cool. So hopefully this won't lose its mind. We'll get rocks around here as well during our detail and time maps today. And it might need to be sloped ever so slightly as well, so it maintains its downhill trajectory. It's very close to the train bridge as well, isn't it? Maybe dangerously close, actually. Oh, yes. There's a little bit. There's a little bit there, isn't it? Let's bring these nodes back in. There we go. Just so it tightens that up. We might need to widen the creek a little bit. But the concept is there, I think, isn't it? We can now have people coming down this way. That's going to be really exciting. Cool. Yeah, so in there, whinging of garbage. Of course, that's going to be another service that you guys need. Like I said, you know, please don't consider this the final industrial build for Valkyrie. And we do want to come through here probably in the second episode and do some much more intricate industrial designs. But for right now, we just need to satisfy them. So we'll give them a recycling centre. And let's also go for a little bit of zoning here as well, just to bring that industrial demand down a touch. And I'd like to have some zoning in Thessia. Most of it's going to be plopped, especially residential. But I'm not totally against some zoning making itself present. So let's now bring our roads all the way down toward the river. This is where our main mall is going to sit as the town grows out over time. And then probably I imagine eventually crosses the river as a bridge into whatever lies over there. But that's going to be pretty fun for me, I think. And again, I just want to make sure that whatever's happening here is acceptable. See, this is the problem with zoning, especially when I'm doing it on a road that has parking on it. Oh, I love that. That's so good. Look at that road parking. Oh, that makes a big difference, doesn't it? Love that. People walking down a little Aussie high street here. So, but then, you see, I get assets that have parking at the front and it ruins it. So, it's kind of why zoning doesn't really work when I'm doing the parking like this, but it's okay. Some of this can stay. I don't mind the fry guys either. The laundromat can certainly stay in as well. We are using advanced building level control as well, instead of historical districts this time as well. Be on mod list down below if you want to come check it out. And there goes the place. Fantastic. So these guys want a little bit more land value. It will of course come with time. Let's go ahead and chuck you a park in. So let's configure our dog park, because this is going to need to be bobbed as well. And I guess it's really a case of what tree do we want to replace it. How about a blue gum? Is that alright? I think that's pretty okay, isn't it? I don't hate that at all. So I mentioned earlier that I would like some kind of intersection marking tool work to happen here. And what I'm imagining is that these are kind of installations by the city to essentially mark out the town of Valkyrie, right? And what I mean by that is it's kind of like artwork that the city has put on the road. And I think this is a theme that we can continue throughout Thessia, or at least I'd like to try to anyway. And I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about here anyway. Let's just go ahead and get this bridge over the creek. 12 units should do. There we go, that road hierarchy can now continue. This one can link back in as well and hook in. This will give us this 4-lane road, now heading through town, where you can go into the suburb, of course. And again, I want to do some more little cutesy node controller tricks here too, and probably what will end up happening is you will cross the creek here as well. Keep all our bridges in measurements of 12 since we did it the first time. It's going to make everyone nice and uniform, isn't it? Cool, and then again, just a little bit of node control now, just to touch things up, square everybody off. And I just want to give everyone an offset, just so it kind of looks like a more important junction along the town sort of road. So when we see this in node controller, this red mark, this means that there's two nodes too close together and the AI will have difficulty navigating that. So what we do want to do is just scroll the offset of that tight node back out a little bit so it's got more breathing room. Alright, we could possibly do the same with orange as well, and potentially purple. Bring all those back in. But, you know, just a little bit of node controller work like that in a town. It's very simple, but it makes a massive difference to your road networks, doesn't it? Really enjoy node controller. And this is going to maintain the road hierarchy down to that disgusting vanilla asset at the end of the road there. Which is absolutely awful, isn't it? Terrible, everyone. I'm talking about intersection marking tool, aren't I? And horrible vanilla assets are growing up everywhere. And actually this little car wash that's zoned in on the side is perfect. So this is why zoning can be good, especially with this prop generation. Like, it's really nice to just have that in the city, but it's not appropriate when I've got car parking out the front. So we've replaced those now. I'm really happy with my Aussie High Street. It's really fun. I love it. Anyway, I've been talking about intersection marking tool. Let's actually bloody do it, shall we? So, yes, let's go for... Which one should we do first? Let's do the one that's coming down off of Main Street, so we'll have this one right here. So, we'll draw out our cross. Of course, this road is going to expand out that way. We'll also carry on this way eventually as well. And then we'll do our little roundabout. So we'll do our 2-lane road, and we'll just have this... What do you want to do, a 4 deep roundabout? Is that going to do us? Yeah, let's do a little 4 deep here. I am aware that you can also get a roundabout builder to do this same job, but I prefer to do it myself. Just to make the cross in the middle. So there's lots of these little roundabouts all over Cutamundra you would have seen in Google Earth. They are pretty much everywhere. And again, I just want to do a little bit of node controller. I want to square them off and then scroll everyone off to about a 20-meter offset is going to be good. And I also want to hide my pedestrian crossings on the roundabouts in Valkyrie as well, which gives us a much more sort of pleasing roundabout, doesn't it? Much more important, nice and wide. So let's speed up some IMT and then I'll talk about my thought process here. So there we have it. So my entire thought process here is that the white and green V is something of an insignia or an emblem for the town of Valkyrie, and as such all of its roundabouts in the town are decorated with the emblem. I think it's cool, right? It's a nice little simple use of IMT, some nice extended road markers off here as well, makes them much more interesting, and also kind of ties it into the sort of design of the city as well. So we'll certainly do that elsewhere during our time lapse today too. Cool. So it's going quite well so far, isn't it? It's actually going quite well. So we got some dead people. First of all, they didn't last long, right? They didn't make it past the first episode, which is a real tragedy. I shouldn't be laughing really, should I? Cool. So I think what we will do now again is just start tying these frames together, and we can see again just where node controller, just, you know, you just want to sort of give those nodes a little kiss with node controller. Makes a world of difference. scroll that green offset back as well. There we go, that's absolutely fantastic. So I think I want a park on here, and by park I mean church, because our church is actually classed as a park, which is great. We've also got some nice easy parking to use here too. So let's go for Ye Old Country Church, right? This is going to be a real fun build, and then we're also going to put in a vanilla cemetery nearby to this as well, probably across the street. So definitely want this positioned. How far do you have to be before you're disconnected? You're never disconnected. Okay, that's fine. Did we have another church? I'm pretty sure we did have another one. It's the New Zealand Old Victorian Church. Let's go with that one, shall we? Yeah, let's go with this one instead. So let's have that. So again, let's just see where you become disconnected. There, so you've got quite a lot of room to play with actually, haven't you? Let's have that one there. Okay, and then we will actually get that vanilla cemetery in, because I want aesthetic of the stone wall right up against the high street here. I think that's really going to help sort of blend into the whole just cute little rural town vibes out here. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead now and get ourselves some hedges. Yeah, these seem good to me. So we'll have a little hedge run out this way. We will kind of respect the building, so I'm going to let a little pathway come out between these two doors here. And then the rest of the churchyard, I have realised in the moment of this build, of course, I am actually missing some graveyard props, so we'll hop to the workshop before the end of the episode's done to get those anyway. And then, yeah, we just need like one more in there. There we go, just a touch of finagle. Cool. That seems good for me. Let's give the church kind of an important tree, right? Let's go for one of our new ones. I've been told that the gums are like super high. Oh yes, they are. They're really high texture trees. We have to be very careful, everyone, with the large smooth gum. We can't put too many of them down, otherwise it will kill the frame rate. So if you see me using too many of them, please say in the comments, egg, take it easy on the large gum tree. I will need that help from you guys. So I think rather than using nodes, possibility for a bit of surface painter here. No, we could just use the brush, but I think actually we might as well just use the pathway, because it's going to come with the light, and that's just going to illuminate it all for us, isn't it? And I guess we only need one entrance in, don't we? Let's just fill that one in. That's going to be cool for me. Very happy with that. It's going to sit perfectly on our little street corner, isn't it? It's going to provide a very nice sight line for the end of Main Street there, I think. How nice that is. Yes, please. Yes, please, everyone. Wonderful. Very fun watching a new city just move around for the first time, isn't it? It really is. Of course, ignore the jerk industry in the background. We will refine that next episode. Otherwise, the creek's coming up alright, isn't it? The creek's kind of settled in perfectly. It's maybe a little deep for what I was initially after, but I can't complain about that. So whilst the village continues to die in the background, let's talk about some creek detailing. So we're playing with the old classic sort of water rocks that we've been using for a good while now, and I want to sort of see if we can get involved with perhaps a bit of Ye Old Creek detailing, right? So let's have some stuff around here. Let's get some vanilla overgrowth sort of plastered around it, just so there's like an old rock formation here that's super overgrown. We can maybe get a little pedestrian walking pathway through here as well. So that's a little path that follows the creek. Again, not a path that's particularly maintained by the city or any sort of like small regional council. It's just a well-trodden pathway over the generations that's been put in. And I guess there is no generations, is there, because of the way we're starting the city? Like, we are the first generation, so it's got to be us that trods the path, I guess. You know, you come here expecting Cities Skylines content and then leave with major sort of philosophical statements like that, don't you? You really do. We get a lot of things on the channel, everyone. Thanks for all support as well. 70,000 subscribers, you're all insane. Thank you. Thank you for that. Absolutely nuts. Just, yeah, it really blew me away to hit that number. Thank you for it. A couple of large gums as well. Alright. And that should do me for a bit of Ye Old Creek detail, I think. We'll definitely get some pathways around this. And then we can just have this sat in our creek. Water's going to come straight through there. Not freaking out, which is super cute. And then we can do this, you know, all along Thessia's little, well, Valkyrie's creek, sorry. Right? It'll be a lot of fun, isn't it? How's our industries handling here? Everyone alright? People walking down to work there, which is good. Definitely opportunity for a pedestrian pathway back and two up here, right? That'll definitely be helpful. I think between the rail and the housing, we're just going to have a lot of overgrowth here. We'll have one more batch of housing come along this way. After that, just overgrown. Again, maybe a little pathway running parallel with the rail might be nice. So this here, everyone, is why we must be extremely careful. Because we can have some African assets growing up alongside our Australian high street here. But I don't just want to totally exclude zoning for that reason. Like I mentioned, I really like this asset here. So we just have to be careful. Alright. Cool. But things are going up. Our intersections are getting marked out and everyone's having a pretty nice time. I do want to add in a school before we move into a major time lapse for today. So let's turn our attention towards that. Let's go ahead and get a poorly maintained road out of this junction here off of Main Street 2. We'll also snap into some grid action. And that should be okay. Maybe the opposite way might serve us, but again, it's really hard to see which side of the road they're driving on here. Just because we had a very clear, distinct kind of dark line in Ilos with its theme, but not anymore. Cool, then I think I just want a little curve to come by the roundabout here. And then we'll let this run down for a little bit. And then we'll use that as a excuse to enter and exit the school campus at some point. Let's get a nice even 4 curve on there. Let's go ahead and get the school itself down. We'll go for the classic elementary. Again, I just think there's no great collection of Australian schools on the workshop really, so we'll make do with the vanilla ones, and we can probably double this up as well when we decide we need to make like a larger school campus. Okay, so we've also got that industrial prop there as well. Let's return to that. So we'll search some fencing, and then we can bring that through on the prop line tool. For those that don't know, the old prop line tool has finally broken, which is why we're not using it anymore. We're now using the prop anarchy one. Let's go for... It's a little bit too long, isn't it? So let's have that one. That'll expand our school campus. And then let's grab ourselves a bad peanut field. Pretty sure Aussies play actual football, right? Although they do call it soccer. A big shout out to Rachel, one of our Aussie moderators over in the Discord server. You know, if you are new to the channel, please do come join the Discord. Plenty of fun people in there. Aussies, Americans, Swedes, a couple of spicy Italians in there as well. So it's a really nice Discord server, so come hang out in if you haven't already. Cool, so we'll just trim our fence back there. And then we can really use these bad peanut fields now as just great extensions into our school campuses, can't we? We can plop another school in here if we need to sort of grow it out and be a little bit more modular with it. I'm definitely on board with that. And then you're actually coming all the way down here, aren't you? Yeah, so we'll just leave that to expand out and grow. Lots more suburbia frame around Valkyrie as we need it. But that will give us a little bit of education for Valkyrie over here too. And we just want to renode control here. It's usually just a case of finding a happy offset for everyone. There we go. Although we do need to bring the orange one back though. Possibly to about there, I think. Push red back. A little bit of orange as well, and a touch of blue. Bit of purple as well. Cool. So I'm really keen on making sure we keep these small little nuances of node controller across the entire map just to add so much more personality into our road networks. Really happy with it. This junction here as well probably justifies a bit of IMT. But you know, if we actually look around the real world, IMT, or I guess real life intersection markings, are just, they're really simple. They're very rarely more than a few bits of lines and dashes. Unless you're in Japan. Japan has some like pretty crazy road markings, but I think just for a little intersection like that, just to allow that to follow around, and we can possibly do the same thing there as well. And then we can just copy the style of that first line over onto the next one. If you're not massively familiar with the intersection marking tool, there is a dummies guide to it on the channel. It can be helpful just to get into grips with what the mod is referring to. Cool, look at that, right? It's got this little bend down here. Now this will eventually hook into our national road. What a great drive into Valkyrie, right? Over the Valkyrie Creek. You see its water tower over there. Sort of a little bit of Main Street over here developing now. It's going to be great, isn't it? Let's also get some walking pathway down by Valkyrie Creek as well. Let's come off all of our snappings here. I'd love to get people just mooching up and down this. And of course, during our daytime time lapse, we'll get lots of overgrowth around there too. So let's hook into all the places it would make sense, all these little junctions here that can have some pathway on them, and then we'll use that as an excuse to have people walk all the way down, and down to the Riverfront Mall, which will eventually exist as Valkyrie grows. It's great, isn't it? Really, really happy with it, everyone. Great map as well. Again, you know, Ilos was such a fun city to build because of the map. Eggsy and Karina, just, in my opinion, the two best map makers on the workshop. Just, they nail it every time. Thessia again is just wonderful, isn't it? That mountain range tap there too. Absolutely wonderful. Really fun. Alright guys, but let's get Valkyrie wrapped up, shall we? Let's go ahead and plop in the rest of our suburbs, bring out some of these frames, lots of prop detail and surface painted trees and everything we like to tie Valkyrie together. And then we'll be right back for a detailing review. Alright everyone, let's have a look around Thessia, shall we? So this has just been a ton of fun, absolutely wonderful. I think possibly my favourite ever city start we've ever done. But either way, let's start out with Valkyrie Park, and by the way, I did realise in the episode, I was like, hold on a minute, that looks like it's spelt wrong, and it was, so my apologies. We have now spelt Valkyrie right. Anyway, around our Australian football pitch, I have actually made some vanilla bleachers using one of the university benches in a row, and then put a trolleybus pole under them. So it gives us a vanilla bleacher, right? I'm super happy with that, and put a few of these around our Australian pitch. So it turns out trolleybuses are actually useful for something. We can use the trolleybus pole for that. And then just kept this central park space here. Super green, and we'll definitely respect this big mall that's starting to develop down here now as well. A little bit more commercial has appeared over to the left, and you can see what I mean now, right? With kind of so many different choices of commercial in the game now with content creator packs and DLC. I just don't think we need any assets, so choice selection here, some surface painter and prop work with some of that fencing again around the back as a general delivery area just to help fill some space here with some more car parking over here as well. As we arrive through this area, we come down to a little dog park on the corner which we bobbed off, and then continue to place the commercial around that. I also dropped in a med clinic which we got off of the workshop just so there's a bit of variation. This is actually a St. John's ambulance building, and then with some St. John's ambulance props out the back with a few decals and a bit of surface painter, touch of fence work as well there just to round off the medical facility. Super happy with this, some very nice tasteful prop work goes a long way. Did actually jump into the street view in Mundra and just saw, because I wanted some like roundabout detailing, and it's just benches and trees. I was really trying to overthink that one, so really happy with that. And then our V for Valkyrie sort of insignia emblem on the roundabout is appearing around town in a number of places, and we'll see if we can do this. I don't know what other letters we can make with IMT, and the V just happened to be kind of a happy accident during testing. So we'll see what else we can do with it, but I really like the green and white V to signify it. And then we've got our school campus over here as well. We do need a high school, but in Cootamundra there's quite a lot of inspiration I want to take for some suburban park spaces here, and our high school campus will be included within that, so it'll be an expansion job. But we have thrown in one of Bad Peanut's assets, and I do know that the Aussies play actual football due to our mod Rach, who is sort of Rach and Dowski after banging in 5 goals in a single match. So big shout out to Rach for all her Aussie inspo, I guess. And we can see more of those vanilla bleachers taking place here as well, as Grandma Jones is absolutely snapping ankles on the 11-a-side pitch. Lethal. Worse than Roy Keane. Then we emerge back onto the high street where we meet up with the med clinic again, and I absolutely love Main Street Valkyrie here. Just the view down, we've got some really simple yet tasteful IMT, lots of very specific chosen commercial, appropriate corner assets like here, mix and match of some workshop stuff with content creator, and it's my favourite high street I think we've ever done. The side parking is really making a massive difference to it as well. Here comes the old bill, there we go. But then we meander down into some ice cream, drapery, one of King Leno's cafes in here as well, alongside more vanilla commercial. And looks like someone's actually applying for a job at the police station. That's very interesting, isn't it? And then we come around to the back of the police station where we got some more of those emergency service props, a bit more surface painter work. And then just had some empty space, didn't really want a house here, so I thought a fountain, a couple of benches would do a grand job just to help round out that corner as we do approach Main Street. Really happy with our church space here as well. When the workshop is working for me again, we're having a few issues at the minute with downloading new stuff. It's just an issue with Steam. I will get some ploppable headstones and we'll make a graveyard here, but for right now, we will just have to bear with the church and its hedgelining, which is very nearly working. Just like they're just clipping through that bit there. We're really happy with the church on the corner, and again, this view here down into Main Street is just great, isn't it? That's absolutely gorgeous. This is very cute Amundra from the inspiration we've been taking today. Very happy with it. And then again, some workshop assets. These are actually old Victorian New Zealand buildings, but they have a place here. And you imagine, you know, down Main Street, some old buildings still exist next door to some new ones that are continually growing up. This one wasn't supposed to be here, but actually kind of works, so I'm happy with that. And then again, just carefully chosen commercial to complete our high street before we do spill back into Valkyrie Creek, which is now growing through here, and it's all been overgrown and detailed. And eventually, once Valkyrie is kind of a completed town, we're going to see lots of people moving around this big open green belt that flows right through the middle of it. As it grows out and networks and stuff develop over here. So I'm really looking forward to developing Valkyrie in the coming episodes. I also added in a little walking path here too that links into our crap industrial area. This will be worked on as episode 2. We'll come in and do a big industrial complex here to satisfy some of that demand and sort out our services as well. And then yeah, people walking back into it just loops down onto the path, which again takes them back into Valkyrie Station as our centerpiece for the town, when they're just so in love, guys. I'm so happy with the start of Thessia. And just, again, shout out to this fencing. This is the best bit of the city, right? I told you it was all downhill from here. It's just great. But otherwise, guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed, likes, comments, and shares below do help bring more people to the channel. Equally as much if you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. Any Aussie ideas, inspo, suggestions, shout outs for places, this is the episode to get them in the comments, because we'll be travelling all over Australasia to take inspiration for Thessia. Hope you have enjoyed it, and don't forget to let me know what other communities you think should spring up around these island chains like we discussed at the start of the video. Please do enjoy your first cinematics of Thessia. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and 70,000 subscribers again. Just truly humbled, and I hope you continue to enjoy the content we put out on the channel in the form of Thessia these days. Otherwise, I'll shut up and leave it there. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.